Another new movie review. Your old Uncle Padrino. Let's get started, all right? Piece by piece. This is a documentary about music producer Pharrell. And if you don't know Pharrell, you know his music, you know his work, all right? And this is an interesting movie, okay? And if I'm not mistaken, this was done over the course of several years, all right. And it was Pharrell's idea actually to make it to depict this movie, this documentary as in Legos, okay. It was his idea because he thought it would make more sense by with a lot of what he's saying by depicting it in Legos, all right. So this is your typical documentary movie slash biopic, if you want to call it that, about, like I said, musical genius producer Pharrell. All right, who is who's been around for a long time now that I realize it. I thought he was much younger than me, but apparently he's around the same age as I am. And look, I tend to think of people a lot younger than me in many cases because of when they arrived on the scene. I tend to think that, oh, they're brand new. They must be a lot younger than me. Even if someone gets if I've been at a job for several years and someone new gets hired, I tend to think that they're younger than me when they're actually older than me, just because of the time frame. I was here first, well, they came in a little bit later, so I was like, oh, they're younger than me. Yes, time wise, as far as being in the job as far as being in the job goes, but as far as life, yeah, they're older than me. They're not as young. They're not younger than me. They're older than me, or around the same age. So anyway, this movie starts out as far as Pharrell's life goes. Again, as with most documentaries and most biopics go, with him growing up and become and finding out, us as the audience finding out what inspired him and how he saw music and how it influenced him, and how all of the people and the people in his life influenced him and supported him and just what's the fostered, no, I can't think of the word right now, but that catered to his creativity. All right, let's just use that word. I know there's another word that I want to use, but I can't think of it right now. But anyway, but it shows him as he's growing up and going through school and some of the trials and tribulations and whatnot. And it shows him how he jumps into the music industry and how he was not willing to give up and was willing to, just he couldn't not do it. Double negative, all right? But he just couldn't not do it, okay? I have a saying, when it came to me, I was obsessed with animation, cartoon animation. And then I was passionate about cartoon animation. And then I combined the words, both obsessed and passionate, and I became possessed by the art of cartoon animation. It's the same thing with Pharrell here in this movie, okay? So it shows him how he got his foot in the door and how he rose to the top as being one of the top music producers in the music industry to this very day, all right? So it shows the positives and the negatives, the ups and the downs, and the creative process that he has when it comes to creating music. Okay, so that's basically it. There isn't anything more to this. It is a documentary, not a story. All right. So for me personally, I enjoyed it, and I could really relate to this, being a creative myself. Okay, the his process for creating music is, say for example, if he's outside and he hears a bird chirping, he plucks that and takes it and goes, okay, that sounds good. And there are times when you probably hear trucks and cars passing by as I'm doing these reviews. So he may pluck that and take that and add it in, and then he'll add a beat, and he'll take some beat from here and there and there, and all of that, and put it all on a track and mix it, and there you go. That's the beat that he has. All right, and he'll try to get artists to use that particular beat, that particular music, okay, background music, okay, or track. I should that's the way, that's the word I should use, okay. I'm kind of the same. I'm actually the same way. As he and I are very similar in that fashion. One being, I I hated school. I was always kind of not daydreaming, but I was always drawing in school. Where he was always daydreaming and thinking about music, I was always drawing and thinking about cartoons and cartoon animation. But I do the same thing. I take If I'm going to create a new character, I take Snoopy's ear, for example, or I'll take uh, Mario's mustache, or I'll take the mask from the Ninja Turtles, or I'll take something from Danny Phantom, something from Bugs Bunny, something from the color scheme from Devastator from the original Transformers cartoon. I'll take all of that and put them all together and see if it works or not. And that's what he does. And I also do the same thing when I'm imitating voices and of certain characters and certain people and whatnot. I find out how it's related to my voice, to my larynx, and I adjust my vocal cords to that. Do I have to pinch? Do I have to widen? Do I have to turn it a particular way? Do I have to go higher? Do I have to go lower? Do I have to inhale? Do I have to tighten the flow of and control that muscle that's there, that the larynx, and to come up with that sound or that particular voice, to see if I can come as close as possible to it using my own real voice. Okay, so Pharrell does pretty much the same thing. Hence why it's the title of this movie is Piece by Piece. He's taking pieces, and um, that's how it's shown in Lego form. And that's why he thought that this would be a good idea to do it as a Lego animated movie. You can take a piece of this Lego and a piece from this Lego and put it together, and there you have this little object here, this beat, this music, this track, and it's lighting up and it's bouncing and whatnot. And so it's extremely interesting. As far as the good things go, um, it's again, it's very interesting to see the life of someone who is a creative. Okay, um, to see the struggles that he went through to get to this point, to see, though you think the life of a person like him is uh is smooth and easy, and it's not. Everything in life has its ups and downs. Everything in life has its mountains and its valleys. It has, for every rise there is a fall. All right. And it depends on, and there's rejection, and it depends on how you look at it, how you take it. Depends how you look at it, how you take it determines on where you go with your life, and how you use that. Do you hold on to it and just sulk, or do you go on, and it does it make you stronger and push you even more? All right. The other thing is the director, the guy who did the documentary on Mr. Rogers. He's in charge of this, not the biopic that starred Tom Hanks, but the documentary that showed people who knew Mr. Rogers, and old old film footage of Mr. Rogers behind the scenes of his show, and on this show as well. He's the same person who did this movie. So if you love that movie, that documentary on Mr. Rogers, you'll love this movie as well. The other thing is, it's a Lego movie. I mean, if you love the Lego movies in the past, as far as the animation goes, let me make that clear. As far as the animation goes, if you love the animation as far as the Legos movies go of the past, you'll love this. It's a lot more smoother than what it was when the first Lego movie came out. That's for sure. So um, I think it was a good idea to do it in this sense. I mean, that's good. Shout out to Pharrell. He did a good job, made a great choice by doing it this way. All right. Um, the other thing is very nostalgic. Okay. There's lots of music in this from the past that he worked on. Music that I did not even know that he worked on myself. I mean, it's like, you did that? Like, wait a minute, I did not know that he did that. I mean, and there's various genres of music and whatnot that show up in this movie. So I mean, anything that you've listened to over the past 20, 30, maybe even possibly, I say about 30 years, yeah, you'll love it. All right. Um, I I think let me bring this up. I think there's a reason why going back to the idea of Pharrell's you know um, life as far as peaks and valleys and whatnot. Okay, um, in the movie The Wild Robot, the character Fink the fox tells the another character the Gosling. He says, "Hey, fly like you, not them." Very poignant and great advice. All right, and I think that's something that really applies to Pharrell in this sense. Um, he's very eccentric. He's very quirky, like most artists usually are. And I think that there's a reason why. I think that part of the reason why that there are one-hit wonders. You've heard the term one-hit wonders, or why you hear people in the entertainment industry just disappear. I mean, they don't die or anything. Some of them do, but some of them just leave the industry. I think it's because um, they they find out how hard it is to do work in this industry. Okay, especially if you're letting others control you. All right, and look, as an artist, I can relate to this as well. Is that people tend to think or have this idea, this notion, which is true. There are exceptions to the rule, of course, but overall, it is true that everyone who is a creative is a starving artist. And for the most part, they usually are. You've heard the saying that if you do what you love to do for a job, for a career, then it's not work. I tend to differ with that. I disagree with that completely. Why? Because when you're doing something creative that you love to do as a job, you tend to fall out of love with it. Okay. And not to mention the disrespect that a lot of people place upon you as well. They either want you to do it for free or they want you to do it for less money. They think that you're hurting. And as an artist, you do have two jobs. You have the main job that pays for your lifestyle, that pays the bills, that keeps the roof over your head, that keeps the car running, that keeps food on the table and clothes on your back, and pays the bills and whatnot. And then you have the other job where you where it's your creative job that scratches that creative itch. Okay, but I tend to disagree with it being, if you do what you love doing, then you're not working. You're not working a day in your life. I think that's kind of part of how another saying goes. But uh, I think that's because for me, when I'm drawing, when I first started out, as an adult rather, or even as a teenager, people would, ask me to draw something for them and they pay me. Well, I got screwed, and the majority of the time I didn't get paid. Sometimes I did get paid for them, but the majority of the time I did not get paid. All right, which is wrong. Okay, but these people tend to think and look at you as, well, me asking you to do this for me, that should be payment enough, especially since you love doing it. Or I'll recommend you to other people to come to you to if they want some artwork done, which, truth be told, that's just as bad as well. So they kind of look down upon you in a sense and try to screw you over in a sense as well. So um I when it comes to me, I've always had a job. I've always had a full-time job. Drawing was just a side gig. Art was just a side gig for me. Now, the extra money helps. It's not, is I mean, the extra money is great because I can spend it on extra things or whatnot. But as long as everything is taken care of, I still have money left over to go to the movies, read comic books, read books, and play video games, or go to the movies and whatever, okay, and watch TV, or go on a trip or something like that. So it's not like I'm hurting, okay? So for me, it's just like, yeah, the extra money is great, but I don't need it. I don't need it to survive. So for me, my new policy has always been, now for the past several years, maybe 10 or 15 years now, is I don't draw for anyone but myself. I don't do art for anyone but for myself, for my wife, and for the kids in our lives. And that's it. Anytime money is involved in it, uh, I back away from it. I don't want your money. I don't need your money. You know, then what are you going to do? Well, find someone else to do it then, because I'm not going to do it. Because again, when money's involved, that's when things head south. All right. And so with Pharrell, yes, he's doing what he loves to do, and as a career, and he's getting paid for it, but getting paid for it is a side effect of it, okay? So, but I think, especially after watching this, I think he would still do it if he wasn't getting paid for it. That's how in love with this craft he is, okay? So, that's how I kind of look at all of this, all right? So, after saying all of that, the negatives. This is a Lego movie. Okay, let me explain. When I said it's a positive, that this is a Lego movie, is before the animation aspect of it. The negative side of it is that this isn't the Lego movies of the past that you've used to watch, that you used to watch in the past, okay? That you and your kids used to watch in the past. The others are funny, they're fun, they're fast paced. You get a real kick out of them. Yes, they're made to sell products. Yes, of course, that's part of the business side of art, okay? You make something to promote products, okay? So they'll buy more, and then you can make more entertainment like that, just like back in the 80s with all the toy cartoons. It's cartoons based off of toys, okay? So with this, though, this is a documentary, okay? So it's really slow. There's a lot of talking, some talking heads and whatnot, and some reminiscing about the past and things like that. And if you're going in, especially if you're going in with your kids, thinking that this is going to be what you've watched before, you're wrong. Your kids are going to probably end up being bored with this, okay? And yes, there may be some kids who can watch documentaries and whatnot. I'm not saying that there aren't, but but it has to be, I'm sure it has to be something that's extremely interesting, and that they're extremely interested in order for them to watch that documentary, okay? Now, with this being Lego animation, yes, they may be interested in it, but they're not going to be interested in the subject matter, okay? But to be fair, this movie, I remember reading about this movie in an article maybe about a year ago, I think, maybe a year and a half ago, and I honestly had forgotten about this movie, okay? But I was reminded of the movie when I saw a trailer when I went to go watch a previous movie. And so I'm saying this because they're not advertising it towards kids. In all honesty, I haven't seen it advertised on any kids programming, or any of the kids stations or anything like that. I've seen it more on channels, that are more serious oriented, or maybe even comedy driven, like Comedy Central or something like that. But I've also seen trailers and the ads on it on certain YouTube channels that I subscribe to. So they're not really aiming it towards kids. They're mainly aiming it primarily towards adults. All right. So and this movie isn't rated R, so don't be afraid. It's not something that's gonna be bad for the kids. This movie is rated PG-13. There are some funny moments in it, and that also kind of relates it to this being rated PG-13. But it's not rated R like the recent Joker Folie à Deux. Speaking of which, when I went to go watch that movie, a mother had brought two of her young sons with her, and it's just like, you do realize this is a rated R movie, right? But that's none of my business. You do you, okay? But there isn't anything to fear about this movie. I just think that if you think that this is going to be, if you and your kids think that this is going to be a movie that's going to be like the past Lego movies that came out from Warner Brothers, you're wrong. This is a documentary, and I think your children will get bored. And if you don't like documentaries, you'll get bored as well. All right. So, that's really the only negative, in all honesty. Overall, this is a very positive movie. Like I said, it's very interesting. I hope it gives an insight, opens a door or a window and gives people an idea of what it's like to be a creative and to be eccentric and be quirky and to just be able to see the creative process that a lot of people have, even if it's just for a little bit, give them an understanding of it. Okay, so that's it for me. And as far as this movie goes, I would highly recommend it. A full price admission. Okay, so I guess Stan, take us out. All right.
That does it for this episode of the No Spoiler Show. And remember, if it sounds like a crappy beat, it must be spoiled. Tune in next time. Until then, Excelsior!